Hey guys, we're Dee
and Aki,
and we want to welcome you to Remarried Love,
where we're your guide to a new life in healthy relationships after divorce.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about healing after divorce and overcoming heartbreak.
We're going to share with you 5 powerful steps that we did when we were recovering from our divorce to help us in our journey to finding peace and healing from a broken heart. You know, Dee and I have gone through our own divorces, and we understand what it feels like to feel disappointed and betrayed,
Disregarded,
rejected, lost,
broken.
Feeling like, how am I going to rebuild my life? We've dealt with the drama that comes with breaking up, co-parenting.
Trauma that our children may feel.
Yeah, how you deal with the effects of the divorce on children. We have experienced the unnecessary financial strain that divorce can give. And so we want you to know that we do understand. We do fully understand what you're going through. And we also want you to know that the pain that you're feeling right now will subside
Over time.
You won't ever forget it, but it will subside. There are things that you can do intentionally to deal with your pain right now and to kind of move it along, because you have to go through it, but it doesn't have to overwhelm you. So this episode is really wanting to help you be intentional about your healing journey, because it's something about divorce that if you're not intentional about it, it will just kind of like pull you down into a dark space. And we don't want you there. We didn't want to be there.
It's funny when you said pull you down, I was thinking that you're in a deep pit.
Yeah.
And that's where I was. I was definitely in a deep pit when I went through my divorce.
So today's episode, we are really sharing some things that helped us, and we pray that it helps you.
So I want to tell a story about some of the things that I had to do to overcome heartbreak, because I'm not sure if you realize that a lot of men have heartbreak.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's hard for some people to talk to others because they don't really have anybody they can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
In my situation, I was by myself in a 1-bedroom apartment after my divorce, and I felt a little lonely. I felt disappointed, sad. I had a lot of things going on that I was bewildered by, because, and I use that word because it's like, wow, I'm actually here in this situation. And I never thought that I would be in this kind of a situation.
Yeah, that's what divorce can do. It seems like it just drops you off somewhere. Divorce just drops you off.
It just drops you off in the middle of nowhere.
And you're just like...
My children were actually with their mother, and I felt a little bit of anger because I couldn't believe that I was there. I was disappointed at what happened, the situation in its totality. I felt disregarded through the whole process as well. And so I wanted to let you know that, first of all, you're not by yourself. I was sitting in my apartment and I received a call from my ex saying that she's no longer going to bring the kids to my apartment. We had an agreement that I would take the children to her and she would bring the children to me. The children were always being brought to someone, not taken away.
Yeah, I think psychologists say that that's better, so that the one parent is getting the kids together and then they kind of deliver the kids to the other parent. So it'll eliminate like a parent just waiting there, seeing if the people are going to
show up.
No. It eliminates the parent from coming into the house of the other parent, waiting for everybody to get ready.
And it also stops the one parent from looking bad. You know, like they're taking someone away from the family.
Yeah.
So the agreement was that we would drop off. And when I met you, actually, this was about a year later.
Yeah.
We met, and then that's when she told me that she was no longer going to drop off the children. You didn't live with me. I had my own apartment.
Yeah.
I was by myself. Mm-hmm. So I really didn't understand why she would no longer bring the children to my apartment.
She told you if you wanted to see your kids, you could come get them.
And so I had to drive over an hour to go get the kids. And so I would have to come and get them and take them back. So after work, I went to her house. I drove over an hour to get to my kids. And while I was pulling up in the driveway, I saw like another truck there that I'd never have seen before. I didn't recognize that truck. And of course, you're wondering, well, who's over the house now with my kids and everything like that. So I pull up to the door, and then there's this other guy in there. And of course, I didn't feel good about that. I'm just sitting there, and then my daughter walks out, and she's crying, and she's all upset. It was almost like she was heartbroken. And I was like, what's going on here? I found out that she was told that there will be a family gathering, and so she really wanted to go there and enjoy herself. It was supposed to be fun, and it's not like I was some person who wouldn't want her to have fun, enjoy herself, or I wouldn't say, we could do it next week instead of this week. We can go off schedule and we can do things. I'm definitely eager and willing to work things out with this person. But the children felt like they were going to miss out on this gathering. So the children were sad, and I was getting them while they were in their sad mode. So that doesn't feel great. It's my weekend, and now I'm getting the kids while they're upset. I had to go all the way to get them. Now they were upset when they came out. They're going to be upset when they get to my house. And it wasn't going to be a really good weekend for Dad. And, my son comes, and they're just looking a little like unhappy to be going with me to my house. I just didn't know what to think because I had all kinds of emotions. First of all, seeing a truck there, knowing there was another guy there, and seeing my kids all unhappy. I was like, did something go down? What happened? Who was this guy? So it's just...
What'd you do next?
I had to talk to my daughter, first of all, calm her down because she was crying. She was upset. And then I asked my ex, what's going on here? Oh, nothing's going on. Nothing you need to know and all this kind of stuff. And so, you just don't want to go into it with somebody that you're actually not with anymore. So I asked my daughter, what happened? And then she told me that she's crying because they were going to have a party and she was going to miss the party. And I was wondering why a party was going to be scheduled for them while they're coming with me. And so it made me look like the bad guy, like I'm coming to take them away from the party. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. I know that there's many men who feel like they're the bad parent when they come and pick up the child to bring them to their house for their time with their children.
I mean, I was there at that one pickup, but I remember there was a lot of different emotions going on that time. One, you were kind of startled and thrown off a little bit. I guess guys don't get startled.
No, I was more thrown off than startled.
Yeah, like you were thrown off that there was another car, somebody was there. You definitely had never, from what you had shared with me, picked up your kids and they were crying. That's never a good sign. You were tired from driving after work to get there. That was something that you normally didn't do. You were the drop off to drop them back home. And now you had to do the whole trip.
I did the entire trip, an hour there and an hour back.
Yeah. I remember that's when like gas prices went up.
Yes, it did.
People were having a hard time making ends meet with the new gas prices in the commutes in the city where we lived. So it was like an hour from your job, but then it was like an hour and a half one way to drop them back off.
Yeah, so we're talking about a 3-hour one-way trip.
Yeah,
whole trip.
Yeah, every other weekend. Yeah. And it was kind of like, yeah, I don't care what you're doing. If you want to see your kids, this is what you have to do. And while you're going through just all the losses that you were dealing with, your loss of your home, the loss of seeing your kids every day, the loss of really the
family unit.
Yeah, the family unit, yeah. 2 incomes coming in with one kind of living space. Now it's like
one income coming in, but
kind of like two
having
big
to
mainstreams going
having to
out.
take care of two households, my own plus the child support that I
Right.
have to do.
Without having anything to show for it, in a sense, which you don't do things to show for it, but sometimes those
Well, you do want to have, something to show for it, meaning that you want to have a relationship with your children.
yeah, and reminders of, hey, I worked hard, we got the new whatever. You don't feel that way when you're alone in a one-room apartment. Sometimes you don't feel as encouraged to get up and go to work every day when it just seems like all what you're working for you can't see.
It feels like someone else is taking your hard-earned money and your lifeline,
It's like sucked out of
yeah,
you.
you feel like life is being sucked out of you because it's an emotional roller coaster, and men do go through emotional roller coasters as well.
Yeah. I think some people, I think sometimes society feels like, well, they should if they're going to break up the home, but not every man broke up his home.
And that's very true. I agree with that because there's a lot of guys who are good. There's a lot of good men out here who do take care of their responsibilities and do their part. Sometimes people don't want to be with those type of people. They don't want to be with those type of men. A good man who is taking care of his responsibilities and doing his duties as a husband. He didn't cheat on his wife. He didn't do anything that required a divorce, actually. But divorce does happen because it takes two people to be in a marriage.
Thank you for sharing that story of some of the heartbreak that you have felt during your process. So we'll go right into some of the things that we did that can help you when you are going through your divorce recovery. So the first one is stop completely or limit your interactions with your ex.
That's a great one because when you're dealing with a trauma and you have trauma from the situation, you have to cut it off. You have to, if you cannot cut it off, like she said, limit it. You have to limit your experiences with the thing that is bringing tension into your life.
So how did you do that with having an ex that you have to co-parent?
Well, one of the things that is we only talk about things that have to do with the children. So we're not going to talk about anything regarding our relationship, our ex relationship, or anything like that. It's only about the kids, what needs to be done for them. That's what the first thing that we do.
Mm-hmm. For me, it really was just about stopping any communication. And what was hard was to stop looking at their social media or looking at their accounts, just kind of just stopping the interaction, whether it was in person or through social media.
Now, when you say looking at their accounts, people are going to say, well, what kind of access did you have? What were you talking about when you say looking at their accounts?
I'm talking about like social media accounts, like
okay.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever was going on at the time. Because a lot of your social sphere can be connected, through these social media accounts. So, you're like, your friends are still connected with each other.
Yes.
It seemed like he would be coming up, oh yeah, you have another friend suggestion, or
they come up on your feed a lot.
Yeah, they come up on your feed, or if they post, and it was almost like, how do I get off of this train? So you really basically have to block them. You have to block them so that you're not getting information about them.
It's a little bit of torment when you keep getting information brought to you about them from social media. And you really don't want to do that. So that's why limiting or cutting off your social media connected to that person, that's one of the big things that, you want to start off doing.
Yeah, and it does help. It feels like you're ripping a Band-Aid off sometimes. It can feel like you're just like your whole world is changing, and it is. Go ahead and take that hit now. And I also want to suggest that you don't express your hurting on social media as well.
That's a big one, because when you have a temporary situation and you do a permanent thing towards that, you're going to feel the effects later on regarding that situation. What I mean is that you go on social media, you say this or that negative thing about your ex when you were hurting, and the hurt is not going to stay with you forever.
Yeah, and even if you don't have children, your coworkers, your self, your
boss, anybody,
your new potential spouse does not want to see you crying over your ex or, talking bad about your ex. The hard thing about recovering from heartache and divorce is that it just feels so bad and you want to express it somehow. And even if you want to share and help other people, the best thing to kind of do is have that privately and just not have social media involved.
So if you want to heal from your ex and the things that happened in your divorce, you want to limit the input that's coming towards you from social media regarding that person.
And any type of input.
Yeah. It could be a phone call.
Phone call, texting, social media, going to visit, being at the same place. And this can be hard if you work together, if you go to school together, if, anything that you do together. It'll just help your healing process if you are not interacting with the person that is the source of the pain.
And sometimes you have to limit your friendships with certain people that you guys had together. And so now it's time to just, push back a little bit, cut things off, and redirect if you have to.
Okay, the second step that we want to share with you of helping you to heal is to create a space that you can grieve and then create a separate space where you can heal. I'll give you an example. For me, my place to grieve was in the shower. In that space, that was when I could talk about the past. I could talk about how bad it hurt. And I chose a shower because I was usually crying. And it just felt like I could just wipe the tears away while the grieving was taking place. But that was my space to just let it out, talk about it, yell, cry, etc. Then my healing place at the time was like my closet and my vehicle. And it can be any place that you want. But in that place of healing, you cannot talk about anything bad.
Well, I want to talk from a man's standpoint, and I guess when it comes to the grieving standpoint, it can be anywhere in your house, especially if you're by yourself. You have your own apartment, so it's whenever you're thinking about it, you're like, man, I can't believe that went down like that. So you're upset, and you might grieve, and some guys cry, some guys try not to cry, but I do personally think that you should get it out so that way aggression and anger doesn't come and take over you if you have to encounter that person or that situation anymore.
Was yours like the gym?
Mine was the gym.
Is that your healing or your grieving spot?
That was my healing spot, actually. I'm glad you mentioned that because I went to the gym in the apartment complex. They had their own small little gym. And so after I grieved at the house, I would go to the small gym and nobody would be in there. And then I would be able to work out and, I guess, heal myself while I was there.
So what we're saying is that really designate a spot if you can. It can be your whole apartment for the grieving, but I like to kind of contain the grieving a little bit, even if it's the bathroom, it's not the shower. It's just that for me, I was training myself not to necessarily let it all out at any time. I wanted to give myself time to grieve, but at least let me hold it in until I get to the spot.
So you basically sectioned off your grieving process? Is that what you're saying?
And at one stage, when you get to the point where you can get to that, it just made me feel that once I left that spot physically, I did feel a little sense of relief. It gave me a little sense of I could contain the grief a little bit, not control it necessarily, but contain it so that it wasn't overwhelming me, and just it could come on at any time. And if I started to feel that way, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the restroom now. I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'm going to get myself together. It also let me have an okay space to release something if I was holding it in all day. If you have a big day or you're going to be with the kids or you just have to do something and you want to be not thinking about heartbreak all day.
Hopefully not.
Right. But you want to, it's still kind of consuming you. You can say, hey, after this is over, I'm going to go to my little space and then I'm going to grieve. And then when I leave out of there, I can go to my healing place, or I can just, relax, or whatever you need to do. But having those designated spaces kind of started helping me to contain it a little bit. For me, that helped. And maybe that can help you in your process of healing, that you find a specific space to grieve.
That sounds to me almost like when you're going through the process of divorce and you want to heal or forgive someone. Let's say that some people sometimes take two chairs, they sit in one, have a blank chair there, and then they talk to that other person or that other situation in the other chair, and they have their healing process through talking it out to the other chair. And I think that's
and we're going to do
kind of like a space.
Yeah, we're going to mention that in another step, something like that too. Give yourself a space, and in the healing space, make it nice. Like, if you want your music playing, if you have aromatherapy, if you like just being out on the beach, if you're outdoorsy, if you want to just cuddle with a blanket and a book.
That sounds more like what women would do. I'm not sure guys cuddle up with a book and a blanket.
Yeah, what do guys do for their healing space?
Like I said, I think a lot of guys go to the gym. If you want to have a healthy healing space, you don't want to go to the club or something like that. You want to do it where it's going to benefit you, and you're going to come out stronger, better, faster, smarter, whatever it is. Maybe you take up another hobby, get into a sport, or you do something that's going to help other people, so you become a mentor to other people. There's different things that
in your healing space. That's like a lot of work.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that
your healing space takes work.
A lot of guys like to help other people. They like to tell people, this is this is that, and this is the other. I mean, that's a part of being a man, is being a leader. So you want to learn some things. You might go to YouTube University, and all of a sudden you're picking up somebody, and you.
This is why you're healing? That's what you were doing while you were healing?
I actually did do a lot of things like that. I did learn some things. I did listen to a lot of people. It could be a pastor. It could be a particular motivational speaker that you like to listen to.
So you're saying like maybe you could just go somewhere and listen to like motivational things.
Yeah, because you mentioned listening to music. And so I did listen to music. I like spa music because that calms me down. But I also like listening to people who are motivating as well, because that it could be for financial motivation, physical motivation, spiritual motivation, or things like that. A lot of men get into that type of thing. So yes, I would say that there are resources on YouTube that help people and help men to divert their attention from their hurt and pain to, I'm going to redirect this to a way that's going to make me a better man.
Yeah, that's good. So you see, there's like differences between men and women in their spaces of healing. And I think it's nice to know them so that you can respect people's boundaries.
And you have options.
Yeah. I guess I was more of a lazy healer.
No, you had to do what was right for you.
Because I wasn't trying to do anything. Unfortunately, I didn't feel like helping anyone at that time. I felt like I had helped everyone else. You know what I mean?
But most women do. That's funny that you said that, because a lot of women feel like they are helping so many people. They're the one who's giving and doing and being. And so why would you want to do it more?
Yeah, I didn't.
You don't want to.
I just wanted to get pampered or just lay down and rest somewhere. So like we were saying before, I hope it's something that you can incorporate in your healing journey and will help you.
Yeah.
So the third step to overcoming heartbreak is acknowledging your inner vows or things that may be building up bitterness.
So you may have to explain to people what an inner vow is.
All right. So an inner vow is something when you say, I will never let that happen to me again, or I will never
do that,
date this person or date. Because at first, you get extreme, or at least I did. I was like, I will never date men again. And then I was like, wait a minute. That's not going to happen.
I'm not even going to say anything.
Because I love men. And then I was like, I will never date a black man again. Then I was like, wait a minute.
You just didn't want to be hurt.
Then I was like, wait. I like black men. Yeah. Then it was like, well, I'll never date black men in America.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute.
You love Black Americans.
Yeah. Then I was like, wait, then that, okay, let me just.
See, intervals can get you caught up where you're saying things that you probably don't mean all the time.
Well, when you do that, it can block you.
It can definitely
So the
block
whole
you.
thing about it is we don't want to be blocked. So if I said, I will never move to another state again for a man, then it can block you when your new spouse, if that's what you desire in your heart, to be married again or to have a relationship again, it's actually starting to block the new person.
Yeah.
But you can acknowledge them. It's okay to feel them, you know,
to feel an interval.
Because that's your like brain and your body wanting to protect you. And then there's the one, I will never get married again.
A lot of people have said that.
I will never. That's the interval of the year after a divorce.
Yeah. But the truth is, you have been married. You probably love being a married person. You probably feel like you married the wrong person or things were wrong in the situation that caused a divorce. So you don't want to have that same experience again. So it's not necessarily that you don't want to get married again. You just don't want those bad experiences again.
Right. And we have said this, divorce is a tricky liar about marriage. Divorce will trick you and deceive you into thinking that marriage is bad. And it will also trick you and deceive you into thinking that you can never get married again because you will sin against God. And we have talked about that in other videos, but divorce is very negative in the sense of what it can do to you. It can be a positive thing in the end, but it has a lot of negative aspects of it that you'll have to manage to heal through it. And one of them is the interval stage. Did you make any intervals that you had to kind of like reset yourself from them?
I did make one, actually. Now that I think about it, I made one that was, I didn't want any Christian women. I said, I'm never going to date a Christian woman again. Because of all the stuff that I went through with some things. That was one of my intervals. It was a true interval. So I wanted after that, I guess I wanted a bad girl. I wanted somebody who definitely didn't want God or something like that. I don't know what I was looking for. Sometimes you make intervals.
Yeah, you just say stuff.
And you're saying things because of the fact that you went through something and you don't want that bad experience. But it's not necessarily that you want the opposite of that. And
you just don't want that.
Exactly.
But that was your own experience. It's not necessarily that what you experience, like when you say, I don't want to marry a Christian woman or date a Christian woman ever again. It doesn't mean Christian women were like that. It's just your experience with that Christian woman was like that. And it's hard to decipher, you know, because like when you say, I'm not going to date men again. You're really just saying, I don't want to date that man again.
And the truth is, I want a woman who loves God, who loves how to treat me the way God showed her how to treat me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I want a woman who knows and loves God. It's just that I want a woman who is truly with God.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
And so, you know, intervals you did have another one. I don't know if you remember, but when we first met, you were kind of like, I never want to have kids again.
Well, you're right. I did say,
because you didn't want to experience the heartbreak of not being with kids. And you actually told me that. Yeah. You said, hey, I don't want kids anymore. I wouldn't want to bring any children into this situation. And,
if it went awry.
Yeah.
You know? And
then not be able to see them.
Yeah, I'm not going down that road again. I said I would
That's
never.
What you say.
I told you I would never go down not of the road of being a father and not having access to my children. I would never go down that road again.
That is an interval.
So we had to have a lot of conversations around that to release that interval from me.
It was part of the healing.
Yes.
It's part of the healing process because usually those intervals, like I said, will block you from something in the future. Like in our situation, well, I wanted kids. I hadn't experienced that before. So it would have blocked us from getting together if his interval stood. And one of the things that we do or that we did to help us through that is to write down the interval and then to kind of put, I will trust God in this area in front of it.
I had to definitely trust God regarding an interval of having children. When the interval was, I'm not going to have children. So I had to trust God with the fact of having children with you was going to be a whole different experience than having it with the other person.
Right.
So, and it has been.
And I had to do that. I had an interval. I would never, ever, 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 ever share a bank account with any other human.
Yeah.
Ever in the world.
Yeah.
That was my interval. See how very specific, very blocking it is. And I was standing on business on that I'll break up with everybody. Nobody has to date me. This is how you talk to yourself. I will never do that.
But the fact that you had that interval, I looked at that and I said, you know what? First of all, I'm not him. I'm not going to pay his price.
Right.
You know, don't make me pay the price for what he did. And so that's the thing that an interval does, is it makes someone innocent have to pay the price for the, I don't want to say guilty, but the other person who did whatever.
For the reason why you made the interval.
Exactly.
Somebody has to pay that vow.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to pay the price. So either I was going to pay it and not be with you. Yeah, and not be with you because I have to pay it. Or you were going to have to pay it because then something that you didn't believe in, you were like, if we're married, we should have a shared account. We should share everything.
I thought that if you had a great marriage or you had the right person in a great marriage, then you don't have to worry about them stealing money from you, taking money from you, removing, moving, transferring, anything that has to do with
all that
money.
Shady stuff you don't have to deal with.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that. And so it's not that you have to heal completely from your inner vow at this stage. We just want you to acknowledge it.
And when you get married again, after you've been divorced, things will come up that will be like anchors to pull up certain situations that you went through in your past. And if you never dealt with that already, it's going to be dealt with in a new relationship with a new person.
That's what I'm saying. Your inner vow comes up in the future. So you can't really you can address it and acknowledge it now. So if you say, I'm not going to date a Christian woman, you can stay in that vow because you're not dating one. It won't affect you until you meet one. I could say I'm not sharing my account and I'm a single person. It wouldn't even, I can keep that vow with me because I'm single. So it's never challenged.
Yeah, I'm glad you used that word because most inner vows are never challenged until the opposition that it is against,
blocking, right,
or it's blocking comes into fruition in your life, and now you have to deal with that situation.
And then you come back to your inner vow and you remember, why am I feeling this I feel this way about it? Oh, because I made an inner vow that said I would never do that. But then I remember I also wrote, I'm going to trust God in this area, or I'm open to other options.
When it comes to your healing regarding that, you have to be willing, and I was willing and you were willing to open up yourself up and say, you know what, God, I want you, first of all, to take it away from me because I really don't want this inner vow. I don't want to feel like this about this situation.
You don't want to beat yourself up about the inner vows. It's just, you probably are feeling them, and we just want you to write them down. And then you just...
And go forward.
You will deal with them. It's just that you'll know where some things are coming from in the future. Another thing we did in our divorce recovery and to heal from a broken heart was to pray for our future spouse. And also I would role play scenarios with my new self and my new spouse.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, it's almost like you're just taking and building a new life. So you're crafting your new life of what you want it to look like and what you want it to be. You don't necessarily know who that person's going to be. You don't know their name. So one of the things I did when I was thinking about who my new spouse would be is I prayed for that person on my way to work. So I prayed that she had a great day. I prayed that God would teach her lessons that she needs to know. I prayed that we would be learning the things that we need to know for our new marriage, our new relationship together. So there's things that I need to know. So it's like, God, help me to learn certain things that would help me be a better husband, a better father, a better man for her and for our children. So there were things that I did to craft a new life with a new person.
And that's good. And you may say, hey, I do not want to get married again. And that's fine because you can pray for the new you. What I liked to do is I would pretend to have conversations with my new spouse, especially when I was trying to fill in a space of talking that I used to like to do with a person that I was in relationship with. So instead of grieving or replaying old tapes, I would go ahead and make up a new conversation. Hey, how are you doing? And then I would like talk to myself of how I'd want to be talked to. And then I would practice talking to him. I wanted to learn how to have better communication skills. I wanted to learn how to ask more about his day before I kind of talked all about my day. So for me, that was just something that helped ease the pain and the loss and the loneliness.
So you really just want to gain more skills and more tools, pick up more tools that are going to help you in your future relationship. And you want to see yourself actually doing better with a new person. That's what I did through prayer. I was praying for my spouse, which was you. I didn't know your name. There's no way I could have ever known that. There were things that I did know about my new spouse. Number one, they're on the earth.
Well, also, before you go into that, you wanted, even in your pain, to be in another relationship. Like your divorce didn't make you not want to be married.
That's correct.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Your divorce made you want a better relationship.
Well, I'm a man who wants to be a married man. I don't want to be a single man all of my life. So there are people who want to be single and there are people who want to be married. I'm definitely a man who wants to be married.
You're on that side.
Yeah, I'm on that side.
Yeah, okay.
So you have to know what type of a person you are. You have to be real with yourself and say, you know what? I do want to be married. So I have to learn new skills and I have to be a better person. Or I'm never going to be married again. I'm never going to do this again, ever. And you have to be real with yourself. You know, I can't see myself doing A, B, and C. I'm just done with that. So it's not a negative thing of being done with it. I mean, it's just that I'm not going to be on that trip anymore. I tried to be married. I was doing that, but it's not for me. And that's okay.
And that kind of goes into the last step, which is defining the new you. Dee made a great comment about being honest with yourself. This is the time of honesty. Do you want to be a person in a relationship?
And do you want to have a happy, healthy relationship? Because there's things that you have to do to have a better relationship than you did before, especially when you have been hurt.
In your pain, it is hard to even see yourself new, but this is the intentionality part. This is the part where you have to work at it. If you have to look at magazines, if you have to look on the internet, if you have to curate this new person for yourself, you do have to do it because now you're more mature. You have gone through something. You are recovering. You are getting stronger. And so a new person is going to emerge anyway.
So you're basically crafting a vision board for your new life.
Yeah, for your new life. If you were going to get a new hairstyle, if you're getting a new job. I mean, for me, everything became new. I was taken from a home and an environment. I was moved into something totally different. That was by my choice, I'm saying. I had new friends. I had new experiences. My life after divorce forced me to be new because nothing in my life of the old way was the same. So instead of fighting it and wanting it back, I had to now go towards the new. I had to keep looking and searching and turning myself towards the new. And it can be really hard because we're used to our routine sometimes. We're used to what is comfortable, and the unknown sometimes is scary. How did you deal with the unknown?
One of the things I did when I was by myself is I recognized that I had to go forward no matter what. That helped me to deal with the unknown. The unknown means I really don't know who's going to be in my life. I really don't know where I'm going to be. I really don't know how much money I'm going to have right now because of the situation that's going down. But I do know this about myself. I'm not a quitter. I am a go-getter, and I'm not going to stop.
And how did you get to that point while you were low?
When I was low, I said to myself, I deserve a better life. And I told myself that. I said, I deserve a better life than what I have given myself a better life than what others may have given me of them. And so I said, I deserve a better life, and I'm going to have that better life.
And you deserve a better life. Sometimes people think, oh, I had it. I had it so good. And
maybe it was good. But the thing is,
it can be better.
It can be better.
You can have something better than what you ever had.
And we can't always plan it out and know I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and these people right here, 1, 2, and 3 are going to be in my life, and all of it's going to come together, and that's going to give me this better life. Because we don't know all of the intangible variables that come with a better life for ourselves, let alone somebody else. So we have to be better in understanding that life will give us a better life. You just have to be there to accept it sometimes.
Yeah, that's good. Like being open. That's why we want to help you to heal from bitterness and heal from the anger and heal from the disappointment and heal from the rejection. Because what it does, it'll like close us all in. Then we're not open to new things and we're not open to the light. That is why being intentional about healing from having a broken heart is so crucial, because if you don't, the clouds just start coming in. The clouds will come in and it'll make your vision of the future kind of, it just doesn't seem very happy.
Yeah. And you want to feel great. You deserve, I'm all for the fact that I deserve a great life. And so I believe that you deserve a great life, and our lives might be different, but they're both going to be great because we both deserve them. I want you to understand that you are valuable and you are worth more than maybe you felt you was given to you.
Right. That's good. Your worth is far beyond what people have tried to make it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget that, and we have to remember and remind ourselves how valuable
we truly are.
How valuable we truly are. How beautiful, how handsome, how strong.
You don't always have to qualify for other people's attention, other people's love, other people's standards for your life to be a great life for you.
You're hurting now. This pain is not going to last forever.
No, it
okay.
won't.
You will remember things, but the sting of it is not going to last forever. And you will be able to feel the hurt, go through that process, and then come out even stronger on the other side. Your discernment is going to increase. Some of the positives of recovering from a divorce and healing through heartbreak is that you can come on the other side valuing good friendships and good relationships even more. Like once you meet somebody and once you connect with someone on the other side, it's like truly amazing. And it can be very fulfilling.
I would say that having communication with people who understand you and value you as a person, and there are people who accept you for who you are and how you are. I'm not saying that you don't change minor things. What I'm saying is that you don't have to change the entirety of who you are to please one person.
And you don't have to feel like you have to have your guards up all the time anymore. You can feel relaxed. You can feel at peace.
You can feel the love.
You can feel whole. And your journey has a purpose.
So these are some of the things that can help you with being intentional with your healing.
In review, these are kind of the steps that we had. One, it was stop or limit interactions with your ex through any type of means. We also want to create a space to heal, and we want to create a space to grieve. We were acknowledging our inner vows and understanding why we make them. And then 4, we were praying for our future spouse, and we were role playing the new relationship that we want. And then 5, we were defining the new you. We want you to know that your healing journey is different and unique.
And it's okay to have setbacks.
Just focus on one thing that will move you closer to healing each day. If you've done some things that have really helped your healing journey, please share it with us in the comments.
We want to remind you that you are valuable
and that you can have a healthy, happy remarriage.
Thank you for watching, and we pray that you have a blessed day. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.